the UN General Assembly, the Japanese Prime Minister speaks on behalf of women's rights, while South Korea urges Japan to take a good hard look at its past. President Park Geun-hye is taking fire for her government's basic pension plan. Not all seniors will see the benefits, as she promised in her campaign. And the Gaesong Industrial Complex is back up and running. Can it attract foreign investors? Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Friday, September 27th. I'm Luke Clary. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe spoke about the importance of women's rights at the UN General Assembly. The South Korean government continues to urge Tokyo to adopt a more forward-looking attitude with regards to its past wrongdoings.
Keynote speech at the UN, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe tackled the issue of women's rights. He expressed respect to the UN's efforts to protect them and mentioned the issue of sex crimes in war-torn regions.
奮撃すべきは21世紀の今なお武力紛争のもと女性に対する性的暴力がやまない現実です。
Prior to his speech, Abe wrote an article for the Wall Street Journal where he stressed economic growth by using the female workforce. But he didn't say a word about the sex slaves of the Japanese army who were sacrificed during World War II. Observers say that the Prime Minister apparently tried to avoid international criticism of Japan's exploitation of comfort women by emphasizing women's rights in his speech. During a meeting of South Korean and Japanese foreign ministers that was held at the same time Abe was delivering his speech, Seoul urged Tokyo to exercise more courageous leadership in tackling historical issues.
전체적으로 뭐 입장이 크게 바뀌고 이러는 건 아니잖아요. 그러니까 이제 어떤 우리 기본 스탠스를 가지고 얘기하는 거니까.
Sources say the Japanese government offered no clear response. A high-ranking Seoul official said that the latest meeting wasn't much different from the one held back in July in Brunei, where the two countries again show its stark contrasts on the issue of Japan's past crimes.
President Park Geun-hye has apologized over her government's disputed basic pension plan, as not all senior citizens will benefit from it, as she promised in her presidential campaign. The president says she will come through on that promise during her time in office.
After the cabinet approved next year's budget plan, President Park Geun-hye apologized for failing to fulfill her campaign pledge on the basic pension plan. She explained the decision was inevitable given the unprecedented shortage in tax revenue and the state of the nation's fiscal soundness.
그동안 저를 믿고 신뢰해 주신 어르신들 모두에게 지급하지 못하는 결과가 생겨서 죄송한 마음입니다.
She said the bottom 70% income group among seniors who are 65 years old and older will receive the basic pension. She said 90% of the eligible seniors, which comes to some 3.5 million people, will receive the full $185 a month, while the other 10% will receive somewhere between $93 and $176 each month. But she quickly added that she's not reneging on her promise and that when the fiscal situation improves, and based on public consensus, she will seek to expand the pension's coverage to include the top 30% as well down the road. She also refuted the claim that the longer one holds a subscription to the existing national pension plan, the subscriber will be losing his or her money. She said that's not true, and that the longer one holds the subscription, the more one will get paid and the more beneficial it will be. She also promised to gather public opinions through a new committee that will be formed to induce a public consensus on matters regarding welfare plans. The president also pledged to do her best to revive the economy and keep her promises. She also urged Parliament to swiftly pass a pile of pending bills related to restoring the economy.
The government's budget plan for next year comes to $333 billion. Nearly a third of that, about $98 billion, has been set aside for the welfare budget.
The 2014 budget is the Park administration's very first budget plan. It estimates the Korean economy to grow by 3.9% next year. The growth estimate was lowered by 0.1 of a percentage point from earlier this year. This implies not so promising prospects for income tax revenues, yet the budget has been maximized to focus on revitalizing the economy.
총 지출을 최대화하여 경제 활력 회복과 일자리 창출에 중점을 두고 편성하였습니다.
As a result, next year's budget is $14 billion more than this year's, which stands at roughly $333 billion. Welfare funds are especially noteworthy, which account for around $98 billion. It takes up the largest percentage and is also the biggest increase from last year. The next largest budgets apply to education, culture, sports and tourism, research and development, and national defense. Also, some $678 million will be allocated for next-generation fighter jets, which is more than double the figure set aside for this year. Furthermore, some $37 million were assigned to building a World Peace Park in the demilitarized zone, which was first proposed by President Park. Other lined-up projects include building small theaters in some 100 places in the provincial areas where there are none. Provinces will also be funded to use local community and senior centers as public bathhouses during their market days.
Pyongyang is making contact with Washington to get the stalled six-party nuclear talks back on track. And North Korean officials recently held a meeting with a U.S. delegation in Berlin. The next could take place in London.
North Korean government officials recently met with a U.S. civilian delegation in Berlin, Germany, to discuss the resumption of the six-way nuclear talks. The meeting took place just a week after the previous meeting that was held in Beijing on September 18th. The North Korean delegation included Vice Foreign Minister Lee Yong-ho, who also acts as Pyongyang's envoy to the nuclear talks. The U.S. delegation included former envoy to the six-party talks Stephen Bosworth and former State Department Special Envoy Robert Gallucci. At the two-day meeting, Pyongyang apparently called for the unconditional resumption of the six-party nuclear talks.
Today, I don't want to get into any details about their position, and I think they have made public statements on that issue, so I really don't want to go beyond.
Sources say that Pyongyang is mulling Washington's demand to show its genuine willingness to abandon its nuclear program ahead of resuming the nuclear talks. After the Berlin meeting, the North Korean delegation will reportedly head to London to meet with U.S. experts on Korean Peninsula affairs.
The Kaesong Industrial Complex is back up and running, and now some foreign investors may even be interested in doing business there. We follow a recent visit by a foreign entrepreneur, which could spell the globalization of the joint Korean park.
North Korean workers are busy producing shoes at a factory in the Kaesong Industrial Complex. The CEO of a Kaesong-based firm tours the factory along with a foreign guest. The workers shake his hand and welcome him. This entrepreneur comes from Germany. He has been having transactions with the Kaesong-based company for more than a decade now.
We were a little bit afraid about the whole situation between the North and South Korea. I have to say that today the feeling and what I see was really good.
The guest also met with the chairman of the Kaesong Industrial District Management Committee, Hong Yang-ho, to learn more about the situation at the industrial park. The purpose of his visit is to figure out whether or not to invest in Kaesong.
개성공단에다 투자도 할 수 있는 그런 의향이 있다. 그 자기가 투자를 못했을 때는 합작 투자라도 할 필요가 있지 않냐.
Several other foreign companies are following suit and have expressed their interest in investing in the Kaesong complex. Sources say that authorities have received inquiries from more than 10 foreign firms that wish to attend an investor briefing session slated for October 31st in Kaesong. The globalization of the complex could begin sooner than later, as several apparel companies run by Korean Americans from Los Angeles are also considering relocating there.
South Korea's search for its next-generation fighter jet is back to square one. But with an aging fleet, there are increasing calls that the military speed things up, procuring new jets.
The F-5 fighter jets, along with the F-4 Phantom II fighters, were introduced in Korea in the 1970s. There are some 180 aircraft of the F-5 family remaining, including the domestic KF-5 Jaegongho. Most of the jets have flown over 6,000 hours, which is way above their regular lifespan of 4,000. Since 2000, a total of 18 F-5s and F-4s combined have crashed. This accounts for more than half of all fighter jet crashes that took place in the past decade or so. 19 Korean pilots have been killed. The Air Force will operate around 160 F-4s and F-5s for 6 more years before scrapping them. Although 60 more FA-50s, which are trainer jets, will be introduced through 2019, the nation will still be short of some 100 fighter jets in regards to the optimal level of 430. This is why it's urgent that new fighters be imported through the procurement project. But a hasty approach must neither hinder the important project directly concerning national strategic security.
차세대 전투기 사업에 있어서 우리가 원하는 방향으로 한국의 국익이 우선되게 가는 것은 굉장히 중요합니다.
The military seeks to restart the project at the earliest date. Experts believe that at the latest, the new fighters must be deployed before 2019 to minimize a vacuum in combat power.
In order to work in Korea, foreigners are obliged to pay insurance for their travel back home and to cover costs of retirement when they leave Korea, but many foreign workers are unaware of the benefits that they're entitled to when they go home, and up to $13 million of insurance remains unclaimed.
This Sudanese woman came to Korea 6 years ago to work for a mobile phone manufacturing company. She's going to return home soon, but was not aware of the insurance money she could receive.
But flight ticket go and buy.
Meanwhile, this man from Russia was more fortunate. In May, he got a call from his former employer and received insurance of around $464.
Иностранцы, которые работают в Корее, им бы надо бы объяснить об этих существующих страховках.
There are two kinds of insurance for foreigners that work in Korea. The departure guarantee insurance, where the employer deposits 8.3% of the employee's salary each month, and the cost insurance for their return trip, where the employee pays up to $557 in a single payment. But around $13 million of insurance still haven't been claimed.
고용주라든지 또 보험회사 측에서도 그들에게 그런 것들을 알려주지 않기 때문에
The government has expanded windows for requesting insurance money to be returned to those that are insured, but the process is not easy. Currently, there are 420,000 foreign workers with permits from 15 countries in Korea.
A sommelier typically assesses the taste and quality of wine. But did you know there are also sommeliers of kimchi and rice? Well, let's meet them.
The spicy and salty kimchi filling is stuffed in between salted cabbage leaves. Yang Hyang-ja is Korea's first kimchi sommelier. Yang is a kimchi specialist. She's capable of evaluating more than 300 different kinds of well-made and matured kimchi. It's also her job to adjust the kimchi's taste and flavor so that it can be incorporated with foreign foods. Rice sommelier Lee Seung-jae cooks rice in dozens of different ways every day. Lee became a rice sommelier after realizing how important the taste of rice was while working as a food researcher.
질거나 탔다거나 하면 그 뒤에 아무리 맛있는 반찬을 이렇게 먹는다 하더라도 그 반찬의 맛을 제대로 느끼지 못하잖아요. 그래서 밥은 그 기본이면서 아주 중요한.
Currently, there are only around 70 kimchi and rice sommeliers in Korea. Due to poor government support in training traditional food specialists, licenses are given by private institutes. Some say more support from the government in producing such traditional food specialists can help Korean food gain more international popularity like that of K-pop.
Lacquer trees are famous for their toxic sap. You get some on your skin and you're likely to face a nasty rash. But new developments have unlocked some pretty amazing health benefits of lacquer tree sap. Have a look. Park Ji-sun is the mother of 2 children. She's busy making snacks for her kids. The indispensable ingredient in her snacks? Lacquer tree sap.
보통 매실액하고 비슷해요, 맛이. 그래서 아이들이 전혀 느끼지를 못하고 잘 먹어요.
Today, it's nut and cereal bars and yogurt mixed with the sap. The kids don't seem to mind the addition of tree sap at all.
과자보다 더 맛있어요.
Park puts lacquer tree sap in just about everything she makes. It all began when she learned the sap could help with her child's skin disease.
저희 아이들이 아토피가 있었거든요. 겹치는 부분, 이런 부분을 많이 긁어서 피가 나고 이렇게 흉도 지고 그랬었거든요. 근데 옷 제품을 먹으면서 아이들이 이제 정말 깨끗해졌어요.
The sap is a quick fix for skin problems. She and her family have used products like soap, shampoo, and cosmetics containing this sap for 3 years. Now the kids have soft, clear skin with no visible scars. It may come as a surprise that this sap, once thought to be toxic, is so good at treating skin troubles.
옷은 우르시올이라고 하는 강력한 독성 물질이 있는 반면 그 강력한 독성 물질과 상반되는 아주 강력한 항산화 항염증에 관계되는 플라보노이드 성분들이 같이 있어서 면역에서 유래된 난치성 피부 질환에 특히나 많은 도움이 될 수가 있겠습니다.
Lacquer tree sap has an anti-aging effect and works as an antioxidant. It also helps treat blood diseases and arthritis. Despite the benefits of lacquer tree sap, many people remain reluctant for fear of skin rashes or other problems. But here is some good news. Researchers in Korea recently developed a technology to remove harmful toxins from lacquer tree sap. Wood-eating mushrooms, no less, are the key to the process. They're implanted into lacquer trees, where their enzymes neutralize the toxins.
온나무 껍질에는 보통 1%의 우르시올을 함유하고 있는데요. 본 기술을 접목하게 되면 모든 독성이 다 없어지게 됩니다. 식약처와 검토가 완료가 돼서 인체에 무해한 것으로 나타났습니다.
There are various ways to use lacquer tree sap. This restaurant in Okcheon, North Chungcheon Province sells a wide variety of dishes featuring lacquer tree sap. The most famous is this lacquer tree sap chicken.
맛있겠다. 맛있겠다.
It's a local specialty and known as a great health booster.
오딱을 먹으니까 내 몸이 너무 좋아지는 것 같아요.
The toxins found in lacquer tree sap can be dangerous, but with proper handling, this sap has an extraordinary array of health benefits. Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.